Ladies and gentlemen, this is the 12th and final round.
Right hand, Golovkin steps in and down he goes again. Unbelievable. Mayweather makes him pay. What a rookie mistake. A sensational left hook by De La Hoya.
It's fact. I'm the best. You know what I mean? Sometimes I don't want to believe it myself, but it's the truth. I'm the best. I'm going to show you how great I am.
From Southern California, this is the Last Round Podcast.
So we're here the day after the Jacobs and Chavez Jr. fight. A wild night here in Phoenix, downtown Phoenix. Joining us here on the Last Round Podcast, the one and only Eddie Hearn.
Wow, it was an understatement.
Well, what would you call it?
Are we allowed to swear on this podcast?
Yeah, go ahead.
Fucking wild. It was, it's funny because I was just speaking to my dad, and he's like, I said, Dad, like, I got a lot of criticism about even going with Chavez. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you have to look beyond the 40 or 50 people on social media, mainly sports writers, who just like have their own opinions, and realise the bigger picture, which is ticket sales, views, interest, hype. Like, that's the world we live in. So for that reason, like, you get a lot of people now saying, why does Chavez keep getting these opportunities? Did you see it in there last night?
Right.
It was wild.
Right.
Everybody was watching. Everybody was curious. Unfortunately for Chavez Jr., those opportunities and those chances may well be gone now.
Right.
But, I mean, last night was everything that I'd want as a promoter. Would have rather a few more rounds and a more clinical ending.
Right.
But in terms of the energy, in terms of the atmosphere, in terms of the emotion, and like my dad just said, I said, yeah, it was just fucking weren't great at the end. There's a few beers flying in the ring. He said, yeah, but son, everyone's talking about it. Everyone last night's talking about that fight that night. Everyone this morning's talking about that fight. Positive, negative, whatever it is, people are talking about it, and that's the world we live in. Right. Ultimately, like, I can't be any more honest than that. Card was stacked full. The flyweight kid Martinez, he's just brilliant. He's just a beast. Couple of good performances from our young kids, and you had everything from Chavez to the commission, the issue with the Nevada commission, the coming in overweight, the whole relationship with him and his dad, the fact that his dad boxed there in his final fight of his career, boxed in Phoenix against Costa Zoo. Like, they add so much narrative, and I'm happy with the show. I'm getting a lot of messages on social media from fans in Phoenix going, I'm really sorry, like, will you still come back? I'm saying, yeah, because you've got emotion.
Right.
It weren't like there was a couple of little handbags, like, but it weren't like there was a riot and people were scrapping and like. So it's just people who are very passionate that behaved in a way they probably shouldn't have, but we're all good.
Well, going back to Thursday, because obviously you as the promoter, the head promoter of this event, and Chavez Jr. with the Nevada issue and everything, and then the first time you heard that he came, well, obviously you saw that he came in overweight, what was your initial reaction?
I can't say I was overly surprised. Like, we know that he's got a history of it, and I have to say that in this camp, I think he tried. To make weight. I mean, he had a lot of disruptions with the Nevada Commission stuff, but I just don't think he can make 68 anymore. I mean, did you see the size of him in the ring last night?
You didn't think that when you first made this match at 68?
He told me he could, right? And I said to him, I think you're going to be better at 75.
Right.
No, I'm a 68 fighter. I can make that, blah, blah, blah. But I have to be honest, like, Danny knew, he's been in the game long enough. There was a chance that he wasn't going to make weight.
Right.
So we had Rosado on standby anyway. But I've been following Chavez like a hawk on social media, looking at his body when he's been training and thinking 180, 175, and I probably expect him to get a little bit closer, maybe like 69 or 70 or something like that. So, it was disappointing, but I kind of felt like it's going to be an even better fight now, because he's going to be like a cruiserweight in the ring, and Danny's just moving up to 68, and you saw in the first two rounds. I mean, let's take the ending away. It was a really good fight. Like, 5 rounds, it was 3-2 either way.
Chavez was aggressive.
And in the opening rounds, I was thinking, Jesus, maybe he should have pulled out at the weigh-in, because this actually looks unfair,
Right.
And I was actually, Danny took the mickey out of me at the press conference. He said, you love Chavez. And I'm like, I kind of do, in a weird way. Like, there's something endearing about Chavez. The fact that he's obviously got his issues. His father was a superstar.
Right.
He's never been able to live up to that.
He's very polarizing.
Yeah, he is. And I wanted him to get redemption last night. And I'm watching the fight thinking, well, after 2 rounds, I'm watching the fight thinking, he might win this fight. Then after 4 or 5 rounds, I'm thinking, Danny's just getting in the groove here. But you know what? Like, this is amazing. Great fight. And Chavez is going to be a star after this fight. Because if he would have gone the distance fighting like that, if he would have got knocked out fighting like that, those guys would have loved him. Do you know what I mean? But the one thing you can't do is quit. And unfortunately, I still feel like we don't have the right, sitting here, as promoters, as media, as fans, to call a fighter a quitter. Do you know what I mean? Like, look at, you know, God rest his soul, Patrick Day. You know, these kind of guys, like, you can sustain life-changing injuries in that ring. And when you bust your nose and you can't breathe, it's very easy for us to say, well, you just can't do that. You can't quit.
Yeah.
But you can't. You know, like, and when you're in his position, you especially can't. Do you know what I mean? If it was a guy that's never had any problems before and just said, I can't breathe, I'm sorry, I'm done, you're going to get loads of stick. But it's Chavez Jr. You know, and you got the dad there going, no. And
then his history.
And I wish that he would have sat down on the stool and the doctor might have said, I don't think you should continue. But when you go back to the corner and go, no, it was a no mess. Do you know what I mean? And the ref come over, he went, no, I'm done. Right. The corner's got to pull you out. Do you know what I mean? The doctor's got to pull you out. You can't pull yourself out of the fight, in my opinion. So, you know, again, it's hard in a sport so brutal as this for us guys to start calling people quitters. Right. But ultimately, he quit.
So there was some confusion, and we talked to Justin Fortune, who was in Chavez Jr.'s camp, obviously, saying that there was like a hand injury initially, but Justin Fortune said that it was just because the English language barrier, that Chavez just couldn't be understood. He meant his nose. I mean, can you clarify anything about that?
It's very similar. You know, he definitely busted his nose. I mean, I spoke to the doctors. He was in hospital. He's having surgery on his nose tomorrow. But it happens. You know what I mean? Like, you're in a fight. I mean, there's certain injuries when you break stuff that probably I don't think you should continue with. And I think one of those is a fractured cheekbone, broken cheekbone. I think that's an injury that can really affect you, your sight, your vision, you know, the look and the shape of your face. But a busted nose is a busted nose. How often does that happen? A lot, you know. But I feel like it was a right hand. Yeah. It was either the right hand, the straight right hand, or an uppercut that busted his nose.
There was no headbutts?
I don't think so. I mean,
Chavez is saying there was headbutts.
There was a couple of, like, Danny would, when Chavez was holding, Danny would push him off. Right. And I think there was a couple of times where the elbow come in and stuff like that, but I'm gutted. I really feel like he had such a great opportunity last night. I'm talking about Chavez. You know, I'm looking at this crowd, and I'm looking at the sales, and I'm looking at, like, the walk up, and I'm thinking, this kid could be massive. But how many people have said that before about Chavez? You know, like, and it gets to a stage where it's like the only thing he can do now is come back on an undercard somewhere, and even then, like,
not on his own.
You should.
I'll probably get some stick for it, but I would probably put him on in a. But he can't get the money he's been getting, and he has to come back at a lower level, try and get a good win. He's Mexicans, they don't like that. You know, I was sitting next to Mikey Garcia. He went, "Oh man, you can't do that. You just can't do that."
Right.
You know, and they may not forgive him.
Oof.
You should sign up Chavez Sr.
He's in great shape.
They literally worship.
Yeah, of course. Wherever
he walks.
Yeah.
The reaction he got when he was walking around the arena last night, and he was just showing just look at him. He's just the fans were going crazy for everywhere he was.
Yeah, he's a legend, and unfortunately, maybe his legacy is getting a little bit tarnished by Junior. I don't know. I mean, it shouldn't.
Do you really believe that?
Probably not. No, but some people are saying it. But I don't feel it's sad if that's the case, because they're two different people.
Right.
Yeah. At the end of the day, you don't just because you're Julio Cesar Chavez's son.
Right.
Doesn't mean you're automatically a great fighter. Doesn't mean you automatically have to show ridiculous heart in a fight. Do you know what I mean? You're your own person. But unfortunately, and I think that a lot of his problems, Junior, stem from that life that he led growing up.
Right.
The fact that he was this legend's son, and
the pressure.
You can imagine his life. I mean, his dad weren't the cleanest living guy.
Right.
When Julio was a kid. Like, Julio grew up a little bit crazy. What do you expect? You know what I mean? But there is something very endearing about Charlotte. Like, he's been walking around here all week, like, hey, and I just think, you're just a crazy motherfucker. But he can fight. Like, was it the 4th or 5th round where he was like, he made Jacobs miss for about 45 seconds. And I was thinking, wow. And when he done it, I went back to the corner. And I was sitting next to Mikey Garcia and Robert Garcia, and as soon as he went back, Robert Garcia went, "Oh no, he's going to quit." And I'm like, "What?" And I saw him in the corner, went, "No, please, don't do that. And then, obviously, he did.
Were you able to talk to Freddie Roach, head trainer of Chavez?
Freddie Roach, I did. He was disappointed.
Right.
He wouldn't have wanted him to quit in that situation. And he said, I'm disappointed because we put the work in. He's trained hard, he sparred hard, and he was doing well. Like, that's the most. It's not like he didn't throw a punch and he stunk the place out, or he was getting battered. He was actually in the fight, and I think that's why a lot of people were actually quite pissed off, because if he was just getting battered and went, I just can't take it anymore. But it's like, you're in it,
right?
So
I saw a tweet, and I don't know how true it is, but it said that Chavez landed more punches on Jacobs, I believe in like the first 2 rounds or first round, than he did against Canelo. The whole Canelo fight.
He looked good, and in my opinion, he should come. If he does come back, he should come back at 175, because he's a big guy. I mean, his shoulders are big, but who knows what he's going to do? I mean, he's in a position now where it's a long road back. Long road back.
Have you been able to talk to John Skipper after this?
No, I mean, everyone's happy. Like, the numbers were great. The interaction was great. Again, going back to that controversy, everyone's talking about it.
Right.
Everyone's talking about DAZN. It's a bit like when AJ lost on June the 1st.
Right.
For us, it was a bit of a disaster. But for DAZN, it seemed to be like that moment where millions around the world are watching this fight, and the replays, and there's DAZN everywhere. Yeah. And from a marketing perspective, like, although the DAZN branded on the ring last night was covered in beer after the fight, it was still visible.
Right. Have you ever been at an event in your entire career that something like that happened, whether it's in the UK?
I've been where there's been a lot of trouble, like crowd trouble. That wasn't, like, coming from the UK, that was wild, but it wasn't violent. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
That was why it's definitely not acceptable, because you can't start throwing things in the ring. But for me, the only thing that I'm happy about was that the only people that got hurt was if you got maybe a little bit of beer around the back of the head or something like that. Do you know what I mean? So, but you can't have that at boxing. Like, it's not good for the sport. But it's passionate people, and no, I've never had anything like that.
Not like that to that level.
I've had a few beers come in the ring, but not like 100. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, I was at one stage stuck in. I had the round card, and I had it over my head.
Right. We saw that. Yeah.
And I was like, I'm looking out like this, and then all of a sudden, boom! Like the back, I got one down the leg. Like, it was a whole full up pint. And it went in my shoe, and I was like, oh, man. Buffer was the funniest. He was underneath the ring.
Right.
And the winner, Daniel, Miracle Man Jacobs. And he just went out of the ring, and he just, like, ran out,
And the beers aren't cheap.
No, but I was thinking, how many's left? Like, after a couple of minutes, I was thinking, surely. And then I think there was a few other things, like a couple of hot dogs came in and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
We saw a shoe.
I think there was a shoe.
Yeah, that was Chavez's sister, apparently.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But I think some people, like, they definitely weren't throwing stuff at Danny Jacobs.
Yeah.
But I think that maybe Chavez's family initially thought they were. So they were like, yeah, I'll do one as well. And then, for me, they were throwing it at Chavez. Like,
It was funny because Jacobs got booed coming in.
Yeah.
And cheers going out.
Yeah. But it's not his fault. He boxed well. And he, like I said, he boxed well. And it weren't easy for him. He's coming up to 68, and he was really fighting a guy who was, 200 in the ring? Probably. Not far off. I reckon Danny was 180. Tops.
Right.
So he's probably giving £20 away in the ring. It's a lot. And you could see that in the opening rounds.
So, Danny Jacobs, obviously got the TKO win. We saw you talking to Callum Smith earlier.
Yeah.
What's going on there?
That's a fight we love. I mean, I can't, like Callum and Billy Joe, who are two champions at 68, are in a waiting game for Canelo, like everybody is really.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you know, Joe Gallagher, Callum's manager's like, you know, have we got Canelo or not? It's like, Joe, with all due respect, you just told whether you've got Canelo. Yeah. And it's like, well, what sort of money should we ask for? I'm like, basically what you're told you're getting,
right.
And we'll negotiate from there. But, you know, it's the dream ticket. So it's a really interesting dynamic at the moment where if Billy or Callum don't get the Canelo fight, they should fight each other in a unification fight. And whoever gets the Canelo fight, the other person should fight Danny Jacobs for their world title. You know, whether that's Billy Joe Saunders or whether that's Callum Smith. Two good fights. You know, it's a chance for Danny to become a two-weight world champion, two-weight three-time world champion.
Right.
And I think he's going to enjoy himself at 68 because he was done at 60. Like, you know, if people would have seen how he made weight for the Canelo fight,
right,
in the fighter meeting after the weigh-in, oh man, it was brutal.
Right.
He couldn't. The frustrating thing about that Canelo fight was he couldn't exert himself in the way that he wanted to because he just didn't have the tank for it.
Right.
And I feel like if he did, he could have beaten him that night. And you know, he's sort of feels rejuvenated right now.
Was there discussions about if Chavez won, maybe getting a Canelo rematch, especially if he looked good?
Not the Canelo rematch, but Callum Smith and maybe Gennady Golovkin, right. And you know, he was. I mean, if he won last night, my goodness, I mean, he was in a huge league. Chavez, like he was going to make fortunes. So, you know, I think Callum, Billy, they're ready now for those defining fights because they haven't yet had them in their career, really.
If you do Callum, Canelo or Jacobs, will that be at Anfield?
Not Canelo, because, you know, he'll tell you where it's going to go.
You go where he goes,
exactly, yeah. I think Callum against Billy Joe could be an Anfield fight, even Callum against Danny Jacobs. You know, it's a big fight.
So, I mean, from your personal opinion, as a promoter, as a boxing fan, do you think Chavez retires or do you think he stays? Just in the sport in general.
I actually probably think he stays. Like, I just think he's a glutton for punishment. You know, the frustrating thing is he can fight. Like, he's a decent fighter, but I don't know. You know, getting into the mind of Julio Cesar Chavez. Like, I don't know the guy. You know, I've texted him a couple of times. That's about it. And without knowing him, it's very difficult to find out what he wants. You know, is it just about making some money? If so, good luck to him. It's a tough sport. You know, why shouldn't you take the opportunities to make money? You know, if it's there for you. And I kind of get the feeling that he does love the sport. Like in the stuff, the times we have spoken, he's quite a hardcore boxing fan. You know, he knows the guys. He talks about Callum Smith and you know, this kind of stuff. And he did take that fight. You know, he was out for over a year. He had one round about 4 months ago.
Right.
And he probably shouldn't have taken the fight, but it was a lot of money. And he thought he could beat Danny Jacobs, so he took the fight. But maybe he should have come back with another 10-rounder and, you know, but what do you do now? The only thing he can do now is probably call me up and say, can you give me another chance? And can you, like, I'll box at 9 o'clock and I'll have a 10-rounder and, you know, I'll box for $100,000 and, you know, like, but I want to build myself back into the sport, and I would probably do it because I'm a glutton for punishment as well. But I don't know. I like trying to solve problems and mysteries and and something motivates me about dealing with rough diamonds. Right. You know, like we've got a lot of fighters that come out the Olympics and those golden boys and like, you know, won gold and. That's easy work for me. Do you know what I mean? Like, I can promote those till the cows come home. But trying to take a problem and fix it and make it right and put someone on the right path and the right road also motivates me. Right. And there's no bigger job than Chavez. And I can't believe I'm even considering it. But like, you know, I don't know. Like,
but you're right though. The business was there.
For sure. Yeah. And listen, we know what we're doing. That's why we did it. Right. You know, that's not going to happen again. You know. Yeah. But you do have a future. But do you want to fight for 100k or a couple of 100k and in a 10-rounder at 7 o'clock? You know. He may think, no, I'm above that, I'm Chavez Jr. In which case, like, if he truly loves the sport, he might do it. If not, he won't bother, you know. But he's going to hit him hard.
Right.
Like, he's going to get a lot of stick. I mean, like you imagine, this ain't going to go away.
No, it's not. But you will. You already mentioned earlier, but you will. Can you say definitively you will bring fights back to Phoenix?
Yeah, for sure. Like, it's amazing. That was
because there was fans.
Yeah, we had
the show was
10,000.
like, we're not going to get fights again.
No. We had over 10,000 in there last night. We haven't had those kind of crowds outside of KSI, Logan Paul, and Anthony Joshua. That was our biggest crowd since we've promoted in America. Mm-hmm. So it was wild, and I can't blame. I will never blame people for showing emotion. You got to behave, but ultimately, I'd rather that than you just sit there and not make a noise. I mean, there was a Mexican wave, like, you know, it was wild. The atmosphere was the anthem was fantastic. You know, both anthems.
Right.
Everybody embraced the event. You know, so there were so many positives, but you know, there was negatives as well. But I'm not one to dwell. Like, I've seen some journalists like still tweeting about it this morning. Oh my God! I mean, it's like, get over it, mate.
Right.
We know what Chavez is. He gave us 5 great rounds, then he quit, and then everybody decided to throw beer in the ring.
Right.
So that's what it was.
So because obviously, you know, you've been in the American market, what, maybe a year and a half now?
Yeah.
So Mike tells me, obviously, because he's from England, that. And we see it on television broadcasts, but the UK fans are really fond of you over there.
It's a love-hate thing.
As comparison to the American fans, what's your opinion on that?
I'm getting a load of love out here, but this is how it starts, yeah? So when I started in England, I was like the young kid, fresh kid coming through, and you got Bob Arum, in England you got like Frank Warren,
right.
and you're taking them on, and you're overturning the old guard, and the support's unbelievable. Like, go on, Eddie, you're so good for the game. Yeah, you're freshening up the sport, and then you get to the top, and you take over, and it's like, boo, you're so bad for the game. And I'm doing the same that I was doing when I was starting out.
Right.
Now over here, it's the same thing. Yeah, take it to Bob Arum. Yeah, who's the PBC? They ain't got shit on you. Yeah. But when we take over, it'll be like, you're bad for the sport. You know, it's like, you got a monopoly.
So you expect the same?
Yeah, it's fine. It's not like people are coming up to me trying to fight me. It's like people are coming up to me in England. They want to speak to me. They want photos. They want me to sign things. But then when I get on the mic in the ring after the fight, they boo me out of the arena. You know, and it's just. Someone said the other day, you're like the Vince McMahon of boxing. You know, it's like, okay.
That's not a bad comparison.
I know. Yeah. So, but unfortunately, I'm the guy that charges you, whether it's pay-per-view in the UK, whether it's the Zone subscriptions, whether it's tickets.
Right.
So, you know, it is what it is.
I mean, since you bring up Vince McMahon, Tyson Fury obviously did his WWE stint. Have you considered sending your fighters, or maybe any discussions with WWE? I mean, they haven't.
There's very few people that would actually be wild enough to do that. Fury's one of them. But if I said to AJ, I want you to go in the WWE and do a few, he would just say, mate, no chance. Don't even be so ridiculous. But it worked for Fury. You know, it was a good fit for Fury, and it's clever marketing. You know, it's good promotion. I have no problem with it at all. You get people just like. Oh, this is a disgrace. Fury's doing this, and it's like, relax. The guy's making a couple of $1 million to raise his profile and have a bit of fun. He's got a couple of sons that probably thought he was God, going in there and wrestling these guys, you know. So people sometimes are a little bit too serious.
Have you ever met Vince McMahon?
No, I haven't. No.
Would you like to meet him?
Yeah, so all these guys, you know, you have to respect, even though like Bob Arum will take pot shots at me all the time, you can't not respect him, like what he's done in the sport and his longevity.
Right.
Now I'm 40, I've been around boxing since I was 8, I've been promoting for 10 years. You ain't going to see me at 88. Like, I probably ain't even going to be alive at 88, let alone be promoting boxing at 88. Fuck that.
Right.
So I have to respect him. Vince McMahon, Dana White, I have a huge amount of respect for what he's done. You know, it's not... For me, there's so many bitter people in boxing that just really do wish bad things on people.
Right.
Like, and particularly in the UK, I genuinely wish people to do well and succeed because I believe in what we do. I believe we're the best. Mm-hmm. And I don't need people to mess up or have bad luck or ill fortune.
Right.
Just have a level playing field and the best man will win. And I feel like we deliver the best shows. I feel like we're on a great path now in America. I think we've got great momentum coming off the back of this year. And I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying the challenge. And we're starting to really find now hubs and cities where we're getting some brand presence. It's working. And I feel like if we come back to Phoenix, especially after that, it's not going to be a case of, oh, you brought us Jacob Chavez. It's going to be, fuck, that was wild. Like,
right.
You know, what you got for us now? You know, and same now, LA, Chicago, you know, all these little spots where we're starting to get that feeling of when we come to town, we give you value for money. And although he quit after 5 rounds, you can't say people didn't get value for money from the show last night, because it was an experience that everyone's talking about. If you were in that arena last night, trust me, you're talking about it today.
Right.
Moaning that you got soaked by a beer, or talking about the Rosales fight, or talking about the first 5 rounds, or him quitting, you're talking about it, and that's the key.
Looking at the undercard, Eddie, Josh Kelly and Liam Smith, what do you think of their performances?
Good performances. I mean, sometimes you've got to be a little bit careful not to have too many fights that you don't really get up for. And I think they're getting to that stage. For Josh, he hasn't boxed since June the 1st, so he needed that fight. The Avanesian fight is signed. That's a brutal war coming up for Josh Kelly. So, but for Liam, he must go into a big fight next, because he's had 3 solid fights in 2019, which have been good. Now he's got to, be in those big fights.
Any names?
Texera is the new WBO light middleweight champion. That's a perfect fight for him. But anyone really. I mean, you got Kell Brook fighting February the 8th now against Mark DeLuca. If he can't land a Khan or a, Crawford or whoever, I think the obvious fight is to make Kell Brook Liam Smith.
So you were talking to the amateur standout who was supposed to had a plan to go to the Olympics earlier, but there were some issues there. Mark Castro from Fresno, California. Yes. Can you talk about that meeting? I mean, give us a little...
Yeah, just he came to watch the show last night. It's my job to identify the best young talent in America. He's probably as good as it gets. Smart guy, looks the part, very good fighter, obviously Mexican-American, so he's definitely a target for us. And it was just really a conversation to say, we'd love to have you on board. Come and watch the show last night, see how we operate. I think he got a little bit wet as well.
Yeah,
he enjoyed it.
You seem receptive though?
Yeah, he loved it. Yeah, I mean, you can't. If you're there last night, you're thinking this is the big league, And it's important for. I guess if you're a young fighter, I'm just this British guy who's over here, and what's Eddie Hearn all about, So I like to meet him and let him talk to other fighters. That's the key. There's nothing better for fighter recruitment than speaking to other fighters and other fighters saying, this guy's good, he's always delivered his promises, he always pays me on time, It's a great atmosphere, his staff are first class, and that's the response you'll get from every fighter we work with. I don't believe there's one fighter that could genuinely say anything negative about what we're doing, and that's really important from fighter to fighter to get that feedback.
Right. I mean, I don't think there's no secret that, obviously Matchroom and Golden Boy are partnered with DAZN, and I think all the fans and the media see that you're a little bit busier with your stable and your company in regards to delivering fighters, signees for DAZN. Have you ever thought of how do you see yourself in comparing to Oscar De La Hoya? Because you're both...
Well, he's a legend. I mean, he's a huge brand in himself. Our deals are very different. We have a completely different level budget to Golden Boy, so we're able to go and sign bigger fighters, make bigger fights. They have a huge deal for Canelo and also some other shows. We have a good relationship with them. I respect him. I like Robert Diaz. I like Eric Gomez. I like Oscar. Oscar is, like I say, a legend, great fighter. And we try and make fights where we can. We just made Tevin Farmer against Jojo Diaz. We made Canelo against Rocky Fielding. We made Canelo against Daniel Jacobs. We'll probably make Canelo against Billy Joe Saunders or Callum Smith. So, I don't get the feeling in America that, I'm sure they're not cheerleaders for Matchroom, Golden Boy. They don't really want us to start taking over the US market, but it's as amicable as it can be in a relationship between two boxing promoters.
So there's no ill will between...
Not from our side. I don't feel that. I don't see it. Like I said, I I don't know, like, I'm sure Oscar probably looks at me and thinks, who's this fucking loudmouth Brit idiot? But, you know, I know he has his issues, but I respect him, I like him, and I wish him all the best.
So Terence Crawford was here this weekend. Obviously, he's in the stablemate of Maurice Hooker. And then there was a picture I think DAZN tweeted out there for you. And
I'm just winding up, Carl.
Yeah, I guess we can see that.
I'll tell you what actually happened, right? So, just before the weigh-in, I was sitting down like this, and Terence walked past. So he come by. I've known Terence for years. I made the fight with him against Ricky Burns when he won his first world title in Scotland. I'm still paying his hotel bill to this day. So he come down, he sat down. We were just talking, right? We talked for 45 minutes. And everyone was walking past like they are now. 5 minutes later, I got a text from Carl Moretti. Just to let you know, Terence Crawford's in town. No conversations, please. Like that. So I went back and said, too late, I've already signed him. And then that's why I tweeted the thing out, because just to wind up.
Just to wind it up.
He replied, it will sue us or something. Like, all right, whoa. Calm down. Touchy.
Right.
And then he started saying about, he wants the winner of Mikey Garcia against Jesse Vargas, and I'm like, look, enough conversations now.
Right. Now it's
I'm not getting involved in breaching contracts and all that.
Right.
So they've got a job to do for Terence, and they're in trouble, but I don't know what they're going to do. It's tough. I've been there, before Kell Brook got injured, I started to see that from our point of view, where when you got all the guys on the other side of the street, what do you do? Because you're just going to get frozen out. Haymon's not going to want to provide his fighters for Crawford unless the money's amazing. So they're going to screw you everywhere they can. And I'm not sure what he's going to do.
I mean, speaking of Haymon, because obviously Haymon's the shadowy figure. He's never in public eye like yourself, De La Hoya, Bob Arum, and stuff like that. But you've worked with him. You've had conversations with him. From your standpoint, how is he? Because everybody just has this myth around him. But from your standpoint, dealing with him, what's your take on it?
Well, I mean, he's a very smart guy, very smart individual. I think the main issue is that PBC fighters don't have any promotion. Outside of anything that their broadcaster will give them, there's no machine. There's no voice that's out there. I'm the mouthpiece. So I'm out there talking about Devin Haney. I mean, look at Devin Haney's profile since he signed with us. He was on Showbox. In the sport, people knew about him, but now people talk about him like he's the second coming of Floyd Mayweather.
Right.
That's because 24/7 we have a huge machine that is just pushing info, news, content about the fighters. And I think the PBC guys don't have that. Haymon don't want to give an interview to anyone. And you can't really, you can be a management mastermind, but effectively you are the promoter. So
you think he should be in the public eye?
I think someone should be from their side.
Sam Watson?
Maybe. But I don't think... I'm not saying Al's a control freak, but I think that's why Al's always used smaller promoters to be the promoter. I mean, effectively, Al is the promoter.
Right.
You can't say that, or you can't be that because of the Ali Act, but so he uses other promoters.
TGB.
Yeah. And I like Tom Brown, but he's not going to be standing up giving you a Winston Churchill speech about some fighter. And so, but I think Al doesn't want that guy. And that's probably why he never gave Schaefer the job that he was probably promised. To be that promoter for the PBC, because he didn't want Schaefer to come in and take a little bit of ownership of what he was doing. But I feel like PBC promoters are generally promoted poorly, other than outside of what the broadcaster will do for him, and sometimes what Fox do is fantastic. And even some of the other guys with Mayweather Promotions, I mean, I don't think Leonard Ellaby's my best friend, and nor is Floyd, but at least they're genuinely out there hustling and pushing, and they've done a good job with Gervonta. He's selling tickets and he's a big name.
And then before we let you go here, I wanted to ask your opinion. I know you gave numerous interviews about it and you talked about it, and obviously your face is all over the no context Hearn thing.
Yeah, man.
I mean, there's people who aren't even boxing fans that are coming up to you.
That's the crazy thing about it, because in England, everybody that wanted to talk to me on the street wanted to talk boxing. Now, they're saying, you're the guy from the memes. And I'm like, no, I'm a boxing promoter. No, you do those funny memes. I'm like, no, that's not intentional. Do you know what I mean? So it's good because I can try, hopefully those people, it's a bit like KSI Logan Paul, hopefully those people will go, who is this guy? And then they'll follow me, and then they'll watch some content, or they'll watch a fight, and they'll become fans. So anything that can bring new fans, like, it's unintentional. And actually there is a couple of people that think I am running No Context.
A lot of people do think that.
I promise you on my kids' life.
But you've said it numerous times that you're
he's on here. The guy's on here, his name's Andy or something like that. He's just some complete random guy. And the only the correspondence I've had with him is when he first started, he asked me if I'm okay with it. And I was like, yeah, mate, crack on. I mean, I didn't think it would get to where it's got to. And the other one the other week was, we're bringing out a merchandise run.
Are you going to cut it out?
No, I said I want a percentage of it to go to charity. Okay, that's what I said. So,
because people thought when the merch came out that there has to be him.
No, it was quite. Let's get it up here.
It's all right. It's all right.
So he says. So the first one is, hi Eddie, just want to say a big thanks for all the classic one-liners over the years. I'm glad you've seen the funny side. 16 days ago I didn't expect to be at 886 followers, let alone 88,000. This was back then. You've put a smile on people's faces. This was 18th of September 2019. Now they've got 350.
Yeah, he's up there.
So Eddie, sorry to bother you, I've been getting a lot of requests to do merchandise. A print order business approached me for some examples. Just wondered if you had any objections to me selling some mugs over the Christmas period. They would just be quotes like the examples above. They won't have your image or company names on there. So I went back and said, no problem with this, but I do want a percentage of all sales to go to my chosen charity. He said, no problem, we're already donating 10% to Calm, which is a suicide sort of mental health charity.
Right.
Blah, blah, blah. I said, I want mine's going to a children's hospice. So let's see how much they make.
So you run that No Context?
No.
Somebody from Matchroom isn't running the account.
I promise you, I shouldn't say on my kids' life because it's a bad thing to say, but on my kids' life, no one at Matchroom has any involvement in No Context Hearn. That's pretty fucking sad if that was the case, to be honest with you, but quite genius if it was. But it's not.
I mean, you're not mad at it. It's really good profile.
It's funny, but unfortunately, it's like because it's no context, you don't realise what I'm thinking. So I watch the interview sometimes, you're thinking, what on earth were you talking about there?
Right.
But the way it's cut is very clever. There was one that's gone out from our interview last night. No, the other one, it goes, my back's fucked, I'm a little bit tubby, but I'm still handsome. and that's it, yeah? What I was doing there was, I was talking about the year we've had, right? So I was saying, like, I've been on all these planes, my back is fucked, I've put on weight, but in that little 3 seconds... That clip then gets used for, all this other stuff.
Do you think about these now?
I do now when I'm doing interviews because
do you purposely put them out?
I don't purposely say it, but I say it and then go, oh no, So listen, you just gotta roll with it and have fun.
And most of that content comes from IFL TV.
Yeah, virtually all of it. In fact, Coogan, I think now is starting to look and go, hang on a minute. Like, you're now selling merchandise really off my clips.
Yeah.
So now it's like, everyone wants a cut now, Yeah, that's a fake. Yeah.
So that wasn't, you didn't approve that or anything?
That's a fake bit of fun. That's not a real action figure. Yeah, I know, yeah. Some people have gone, I want one, where do I get one?
Right.
No. So,
oh, wow.
Right. You kind of touched on obviously this year, so for next year, do you know how many shows you have scheduled for the US?
44 this year, worldwide. We'll be doing over 50 next year because we're introducing Canada, Japan and Germany as well. So it's going to be a mad year, and I don't know how many more years I've got left doing this. So we'll talk about Bob Arum and stuff like that. Like, this is another level to what he does because this is, and he's 88, but I mean another level to what he's ever done, opening up new markets and travelling and doing a show a week basically. So it's brutal. Like, it's brutal on your family, it's brutal on probably on your health.
Right.
We love it and we love the sport. And right now, it's us against the world, and we ain't going anywhere.
Is there any reason? Would he still fight on DAZN?
No, he's with
Haymon.
Yeah, we'd love to have him. I think he's got a big future and he's dangerous. So we'll see what they do.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate your time, Eddie.
And thanks for having me on.
Good luck in 2020, and over here stateside, people don't hate you yet.
Not yet. Give it time.
Give it time. We appreciate it.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for supporting and listening to the show. Follow us at The Last Round 12 on social media. Rate, review, and subscribe. This is the Last Round Podcast.